1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
The left are child abusers.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hello, guys. I'm James Hake. This is the Hake Report, fourth hour of Jesse Lee Peterson's stream. Thank you, Jesse. And thank you guys for staying tuned for me, for us. It's fun. And this is the Hake Report, 9 a.m. Pacific time, Friday, September 27th, 2019, live in hour 4. On YouTube, Periscope, DLive, and Mixer. Those are Jesse's things. For Hake's Hot Takes. Live audio on jlptalk.com, podcast afterward, and audio and video recordings on Hake's platforms, which you can find via thehakereport.com. So, I want to just give you a few quick examples before I get to some calls of leftist child abuse. So, kids chant, "Who do we hate? Donald Trump. Who do we hate? Donald Trump." Correction. If you're really school kids, you should go back to school because it's whom. Whom do we hate? Donald Trump. Duh. Imagine if we did that with Obama. Who do we hate? Barack Obama. The commies say idiot stuff like, the only thing we hate is bigotry. It's okay to hate the racist. See? Because usually the racist is not the hater. The hater is the people who crying racism. That's the definition of bigotry itself, where you don't accept somebody's different opinions from yours or different view. You can't stand other ideas. Those are the bigots. I don't even like that word bigotry or bigots. I was arguing with an Antifa guy up at the Straight Pride Parade a month back or so. And I did the okay sign, and he's all, "That's white power." And I said, "No, it's not, because that's fake news, right? It's fake." And he said, "Don't be ashamed." And so I'm all, "Do you love white people?" He's all, "Yeah, I love everybody." And then I said, "Do you love Donald Trump?" "F no." He didn't say F, he said the real word. "F no, he's a bigot." And I said, you're the bigot, you hate everybody, you don't love anybody. Because I like what Jesse says, that if you hate anybody, then you hate everybody. It's not like you can have love for one person and hate other people. That's why the racism thing is a joke. Hateful people do play favorites. And you notice that the hateful people play favorites against the white people usually. But it's not as though they love the POCs. They don't. And so they're teaching this hatred to kids. That's child abuse. Climate alarmism is scaring children. You saw how upset and disturbed, mentally and emotionally disturbed and spiritually disturbed that Greta Thunberg, Gretard, as Vox Day and Owen call her, Gretard. That's the redheaded girl who looks like she could be my niece, but she has a cooler accent, but she has a terrible attitude. The one who came here from Sweden and said, "I should be in school across the country," whatever. No, across the ocean, which she should be. Maybe she should not be in school, actually. These schools are liberal schools. That's another form of child abuse. The liberals, by the way, want to control your children young. They want mandatory, they want universal pre-kindergarten, which is preschool. That means when you're 3 or 4 years old, you go to school. So that the liberal brainwashed useful idiots can make liberal brainwashed useful idiots out of your children. And mine if I make babies. So this climate alarmism, liberals are miserable, by the way. They have support groups for people suffering from anxiety, adults suffering from anxiety. And there are white women who are not making white babies because of climate change alarmism, brainwashing junk, fear-mongering. That's fear-mongering. They accuse Trump of fear-mongering about the immigrants. In fact, he's truth-mongering. Christopher Hahn. You know the Christopher Hahn who was in Joel's Friday segment? Get It Off Your Chest Day segment? About, you take that back right now and apologize. Because Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire, who came to one of the Bonn men's conferences and spoke at a panel, he called the Greta Thunberg, the climate change alarmist girl from Sweden, mentally ill. A mentally ill Swedish child, called her what she is. And Michael Knowles, by the way, doesn't have a malicious bone in his body, I don't think. I could be wrong. But he was not being malicious when he referred to her as that, because he said they're exploiting her. And that's what they are. They are doing that. And, you know, she's exploiting herself. Probably going to regret it later, if she has any sense. Yeah, they told us the ozone layer was going to burn up his kids. And then we have, like, these demon trannies who are invading children's spaces with the blessing of these females who are so-called mothers to these children. Liberal mothers. In many cases, white women, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. And then, remember the Obama youth? Yes, we can. I showed you the kids singing in 2008. Instead of doing church songs, singing in church on Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, they spent a Sunday in Venice, California, promoting Obama with communist Mexican chants. Yes, translated to English. Yes, we can. Si se puede. That's a commie chant. Yes, we can overturn the white people and overturn nationalism and fundamentally destroy America, fundamentally transform America from white and decent to socialist, communist, and indecent, and anti-white. So that's child abuse. And I have this LA Times puff piece that I really quickly want to show you guys. Well, maybe not so quickly, but this is really disgusting. I saw it, I want to say that I saw it yesterday, but it came out just 2 days ago morning. LA Times is a far-left, anti-Trump, anti-Christian, anti-white paper local to here. Pretty big. They've been around forever. And here's the headline. These LA parents don't want to assign a gender to their baby. And they call them parents. They're not parents. One of them is the parent. The other one is step-parent, I guess you would call him. Her. So the government did it for them, meaning the government assigned the gender for them. And yes, I was reading this on my iPhone, so I have iPhone screenshots. In the couple's LA Los Angeles social network alone, several of their friends have chosen not to reveal the gender of their children because these are LGBTQIA people until the kids are old enough to articulate their identities on their own. And this is written by a liberal woman, no doubt, Laura Newberry. Came out September 5th, 25th, 2019, 5 a.m. Look at her. So that's a woman, but she wants to be referred to as they, but I'm not going to kiss up to that. And then that child, the government called that child a boy. And so I suppose it may well be a boy. Don't know. Joel says, look at the lady's hair. What the? She has an afro. She is non-binary. She wants to be referred to as they, them, whatever. And the LA Times, of course, obliges. And this person's name goes by Jay Barnett. That was the yellow-shirted person raising a 1-year-old. Azul is the little boy or little girl without an assigned gender. And it was taken by a photographer for the LA Times, Brian Vanderbrug. So, Azul Ruelas Brissette was born the summer of 2018. The baby's parents were resolute. They did not want male or female spelled out on the child's birth certificate. Because why? I'll tell you why. Jay Brissette is the woman, And Miguel Ruelas. Miguel is not this person's, the so-called father's real name, because the so-called father is not the father at all. Not even a male. It's a female to wannabe male transgender. They weighed their decision carefully. They're part of a small but burgeoning cohort of parents who are raising their children in what they call a gender creative or gender expansive way. Gender expansive. So the couple's, oh yeah, I told you about the couple. So Jay Brissett is 35, identifies as non-binary, uses they, them, and theirs pronouns. Remembers the pressure to be a certain kind of person from a young age. Girls didn't like to run around at recess. They liked to sit and talk and clap Miss Mary Mack. And so she was a tomboy. That's how I figured out that this was a woman. Looks like a woman anyways, to be honest. You see the pictures. Show that other picture where she's standing in the doorway with this little baby. Cute little baby. 1 year old, I guess. One and a half, maybe. And yeah, that's a woman. So, FYI. Black woman, black lesbian, really, in reality. And so they didn't like the stereotype. Oh, listen to these stereotypes. Speaking of, this is not just anti-sanity, it's also Lori Lightfoot let herself go. This is anti-male. Listen to these stereotypes that they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of the stereotype labels of a boy and a girl be free to be their most authentic selves, whether they're boys who like to play house, which is a girly, horrible thing, or girls who like to play with chemistry sets. And playing with a chemistry set versus playing with a house. Which one is more adult-like? Which one is more leadership type of thing? They want to raise up the girls and push down the boys into their unnatural states of being. And it's not a put down for a girl to play house. But it is a put down for a boy to. It should be a put down for the girl to want to be interested in the chemistry, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Whatever. Till they have kids, they can do that, I guess. But they're pushing the boys down and lifting the girls up, and they're making both of them unhappy because the girls are going to get into their chemistry and their career, not have kids until it's almost too late to have kids. Then they have to hurry up and have the kids. But meanwhile, they've messed up their bodies with the birth control. So much for the white babies, right? So Azul's birth certificate shows 2 dashes where gender typically is indicated. That's the baby. January 2018, the state of California began issuing birth certificates that mark the gender of a female, male, non-binary, or nothing at all. At least 10 other states allow gender-neutral markers on identity documents. Brissett and Ruelas soon learned that federal agencies still adhere to the traditional ways of designating gender. And they call that partisan politics. This not sanity, partisan politics. Meaning the Republicans are semi-sane and the Democrats are totally insane. The Social Security Administration in November inquired about registering Azul for a Social Security number. They asked how they should handle the application form, which gives just 2 options for sex, male and female. The SSA declared that's a boy. Well, some worker. And then she said, no, we're not raising him as a boy. That's a boy. And then the worker shut the window. That's how you handle it. But the Social Security Administration, of course, is not for standing up for what's right. So they just won't respond. And there are these organizations that are pushing this stuff. And the government is caving little by little. Very oppressive stuff, right? And evil. Let's see. States now let residents change their markers on their driver's licenses from male to female and vice versa, but it's very burdensome, of course, as it should be, right? In fact, it shouldn't even exist, right? It shouldn't. That's crazy. They are totally changing the argument. It shouldn't even be up for debate. It's kind of like what one of the contestants or one of the guys talking about the Second Amendment in the free speech thing that Jesse held, the town hall meeting, Travis, he said that the Second Amendment is not even up for debate. I'm not even, and he makes a good point that it's not. The same thing with this gender stuff. And so these are two women who are raising this baby this way. And you'll hear of stories of kids being raised like this, especially in San Francisco and places. But this couple is in LA. And they've called Jesse Lee Peterson, some of the kids have, as they've become adults, who have been raised by homosexuals and stuff like that, without their father or whatever, by lesbians. And many other cases, he's counseled these people. And incidentally, some of the kids do wake up, snap out of it. But it's so evil to raise your kids that way. The kids need their real parents. And so that's very destructive. That's child abuse. The National Center for Transgender Equality is pushing this stuff, is part of it. So this California bill is, Jerry Brown, who's supposed to be like a sane person, old timer. Well, he's gone now. Now it's an even more insane person, Newsom, Gavin Newsom, cousin to Joanna Newsom, the singer woman, harpist. Governor Jerry Brown, October 2017. Gender identification is fundamentally personal, the bill reads. He signed this. And the state should endeavor to provide options on state-issued identification documents that recognize a person's accurate gender identification. So now these LGBTQ people are complaining that they're getting assaulted, supposedly, and questioned and harassed and having to jump through extra hoops when they try to go through TSA and all that madness. And then there are people who fundamentally believe that LGBT people should not have these rights, said Alice Kessler, legislative director for Equality California. Equality is another child abuser word, because equality is not letting the LGBT people have their special treatment for having this madness accepted. Anyway, let me get to some calls. You guys have been on hold a while, and then I'll get back to some of this. And white kids and non-white kids are being abused with this racism stuff. And they're pushing and pushing and pushing, including the Fed, for more immigrants. They don't want to ban birth control. They don't want to encourage the people to make babies. They want to bring in more so-called immigrants to be the workers. Such a bad idea. Let me get to Steve out of Michigan. Steve, how are you?
What's up, James? How are you?
Hey, nice to hear from you.
Good, good. Hey, listen, you are absolutely 100% correct. That's child abuse. You know, they got that young lady on TV, and they've got her frightened over this climate change myth. And that's absolutely, you know, she is going to wake up someday and look back on that and watch that recording, and I think that's going to bother her for a lifetime. Shame on her parents for doing that.
And shame on her. She's 16. She should have the sense to know better, and her friends for not,
right,
I don't know, if any friends who are cheering her on with this madness.
Right. Her friends and her family are cheering her on, and so, I cut her a little bit of slack because she's 16, and
yeah, but that's not.
She's surrounded
that's not
by
that. That's not actually that young. If you think about the stuff that we were doing at 16, think back to when you were 16. You knew what was going on. You had a sense of right and wrong. But this, yeah.
Right. I think, though, I might have been able to be convinced, though, that the climate change, because they bring it out and they pretend that it's scientific, and they're teaching them that in school. So,
yeah.
So she's obviously brainwashed.
When you get caught up in a...
It's still child abuse.
Yeah. She was caught up, definitely. That's true.
Right,
when you get caught up on your learning...
Step up and do anything and say, wait a minute, exploit her. Even if they believe that is I don't know anybody that could look at that and not see exploitation of that young lady and putting her out there. Those aren't her ideas. And
true.
And, she obviously had help with her speech.
Yep.
Brought her to the UN.
How dare you?
One of us takes our kid to the UN, right?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Right. What a night. What a nightmare. Hey, listen, I'm a GM worker. I'm one of those on strike. So
Yeah.
I took a stand and didn't walk the picket line.
You're picketing?
Suggested that. And yeah. Well, I refused it.
Oh, you refused it?
Well, yeah, we'll see if they pay me, but by $250 a week.
So you're still not going to work, but you refuse to picket.
Yes.
Why don't you just go to work?
I can't.
Cannot.
They've shut down my plant. I can't cross a picket line and work. They're not doing nothing.
Even if you wanted to, GM is not allowing workers to work.
Right. Effectively,
wow.
I'm locked out.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, that's different.
So it's 2 weeks,
so you're just staying home
now? I'm a plumber by trade, and so I've been trying to find some side jobs. And,
nice.
And keep busy, and my
Good for
lawn
you,
looks
man.
Great, but yeah, and so trying not to be a beta male, like not doing no laundry or nothing, but
interesting. Right on, man.
Hey, Ben, I listen to you every day, dude. And when I'm at work, I got an earbud in, and I'm listening to the Hake Report.
That's
so
cool.
You definitely got at least one fan in Michigan, I can tell you that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Word, man.
No, there are some decent people in Michigan.
Good work.
All right, you too,
There are,
Steve.
Man, and I work with some too. These folks on the line. There's another set of brainwashed people. I'm a no on this strike, and I'm only one voice. Only 9% of the people feel like I do and voted no.
Yeah.
And it's all a sham. We're being used here. While our uppers are full of corruption, and you can read in the paper. Don't take my word for it, but everybody's on. They've got 9 people pled guilty to fraud and embezzlement, and our president has not been up there speaking.
That's your union?
Yep, the UAW.
Wow.
So yeah. All day, and they spent $60,000 on cigars and humidors and whatever to pass out to their friends, and villas out there in California and Florida. Staying up in there for weeks on end, and billing the union out of my dues, man. I paid for all that.
Right.
What a shame.
Yeah. Man, that's so evil. That's a shame, man.
Yeah, it is.
And then they act like unions are an American thing. Well, they've become an American thing, but they're only...
They stole out of our charity fund.
Yep.
They were stealing out of our charity fund, taking money for flowers. Get this. We put in a fund. Everybody chips in cash for a flower fund to give flowers to members whose family members die, and we'll send flowers to the funeral home or whatnot.
Yeah.
And they were taking money out of that fund. Can you believe that?
That's pretty corrupt.
Yeah, they got busted, man. They got 9 of them are convicted right now. Got one under. They arrested him at his house. They put our ex-president, handcuffed him, and
nice.
That's all public knowledge and stuff. So I didn't make that up. And
jeez.
So what a shame, man.
I appreciate that. Sounds like Joe Biden type of stuff. I could see. I just pictured Joe Biden being real abusive.
Mafia bosses, man. They're mafias living high on the hog on my money.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Good to hear from you, man.
James, thank you, man. Hey, good luck to you. Bye.
All right, you too. Talia out of Sacramento, California. First-time caller. Talia, how are you?
Hello, James. How are you doing?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
I just wanted to ask you what you thought about the Democrats attacking Trump.
Yeah. So I like Jesse's take where I think it's going to be ongoing, though. It's going to be kind of like a new Russia collusion kind of conspiracy theory. Now it's the Ukraine collusion conspiracy theory. And so they're going to be trying to impeach. It's not going to matter whether they impeach him or not, I don't think. I doubt they remove him. They don't care about the law, so they may well impeach him. They don't care about protecting the country. They have no loyalty to America or Americans. Trump is the only one up there that I've seen really cares about America and Americans, trying to build the wall, building it rebuilding it really in some cases. I don't know. Ann Coulter makes a good point that I don't know of any new wall that's gone up other than 50 miles or something. But maybe it is, maybe it's not. But he is doing like everything he can for the country, it seems to me. Is how it appears. And he's standing up for himself. And I like that. I love that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So if they said that they were going to release all video tapes or audio tapes of the president and talking to other foreign leaders.
Yeah, he shouldn't do.
What is going on with that?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that. In fact, I hadn't even heard that before. I know that he didn't. I know that he didn't want to release. He didn't even really want to release this one, but he did just because they were lying about it so much, I guess. And so he released it, and the sane people can see, oh, that's just Trump being Trump and fighting for the country, right? But and Joe Biden is not for the country, by the way.
No, Joe Biden is communist.
Yeah, he is. He was with Obama for 8 years. What does that tell you about the scumbag that he is? And he constantly trashes white people, decent white people. The alt-right, he's worse than anybody that he's trashing. The alt-right are more decent than any of the Democrats, I think. And
they are.
Yeah. So he's a trash person, and so are the people that are trying to impeach Trump, and so are like the Republican governors and things that are siding with it. I think a Vermont governor, a Massachusetts governor, rhinos, are trashing Trump.
Yes.
Speaking of rhino roundup, one suggestion from the super chats. But yeah, I didn't know that they were going to try to release more of his conversations. I know the Kremlin doesn't want that. I think that's Putin from Russia. He doesn't want that, and Trump doesn't want that either. Like, no sane person would want that. But the more that they release, the more they can scrutinize and make up stuff. Talia, you're making a lot of noise.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on my morning walk. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to, I called last Tuesday, and I wanted to say sorry to some people. I talked about the 6-Day War in Israel, and I'm not an Israeli historian. I'm Israeli, but I'm not an Israeli historian, so if I got any facts wrong, I am sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with what happened there. Appreciate it, Talia.
I was, and I want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Do you believe that we came from monkeys?
No, no, I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't tend to buy the evolution thing. I don't care, but I don't tend to buy it. It's kind of like climate change stuff. I don't care, but I don't tend to buy, the notion that it's man-made. Because look at the people who are screaming that it definitely is. They're the worst people. There are some decent people that are saying, oh, yeah, there is some truth to some of this stuff. And that's fine. I don't care. But the people that are pushing it the hardest and pushing for the globalist socialist things, then they are they're scumbags. So I don't believe anything that they say. In general, I don't trust pretty much, even when out in 2007, 2008, when the so-called, this is before I was actually really into politics. But when the recession was supposedly hitting, I didn't even buy that.
Yeah.
Because I could just see that the media was really dramatizing it and playing it up as if they kind of wanted it to happen. Then they could have one more thing to blame on Bush. So I think that all this hype about a recession is part of what creates a recession, because you put that fear in people's minds. Of course, it's going to affect things, and they are really evil like that. And so I just tend not to really believe much of what they hype, let's say, of what the media hypes.
True.
Yeah.
That is a good way to think of it.
Yeah.
And what my school teacher used to tell us was Adam and Eve were born in Tel Aviv. So, because we're Israelis, so we are from there. So that is the saying that she always used to say, because she really didn't believe in it. She was a good woman. She did not believe in such ludicrous things as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate that, Talia.
Thank you for answering my call. I'll call back then.
All right.
Have a good day, James.
You too. Take care.
Shalom.
You as well. Shalom. That means wholeness, I heard. All right. Bye. Speaking of Israel, look, real quick, let me just give you guys, and then I will get back to calls, a quick update, and then I'll talk about these white kids and non-white kids being child abused. Israel is still in limbo. I was reporting about the Israeli election. Drudge reports Israeli politics remain in chaos after a deadlocked election. Still, wow. So the only reason I care somewhat is that I don't know, I kind of generally have a positive impression of Benjamin Netanyahu. He likes Trump, right? So he must be all right. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But the people who hate him the worst, you know, the mainstream who hate him the worst, they're the mainstream. They're evil. Report from Jerusalem, according to Associated Press, which is a far-left outlet, by the way. Benjamin Netanyahu has been tasked by Israel's president, because Netanyahu is the prime minister, to form a new government for the 6th time in his lengthy political career. I don't have any headlines for you for this. After an inconclusive national election last week, which was a redo of an election that happened in April, Netanyahu has no obvious path, speaking of all this division in the U.S. and in Israel, has no obvious path to the 61-seat parliamentary majority required for a coalition government, enjoying the backing of just 55 people, not the 61, of its 120 members. Benny Gantz, his opponent, the real liberal guy, socialist, I think, of the Blue and White Party, I think he's a liberal. I don't think that he should be trusted. Benny Gantz has only 54. Netanyahu has 55. They need 61 to form a majority government. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works over there. But he's also, next week, Netanyahu has a pre-indictment hearing before he will likely be charged in a series of supposed corruption scandals. And who knows what the truth is with that. Officially, Netanyahu has up to 4 weeks to present a stable government. President Reuven Rivlin, who is responsible for delegating a leader to the form of government, gave Netanyahu the nod because he seemed to likely have the most success. Well, maybe. He can give a couple of weeks extra to Netanyahu, like he did back in April, before that, with that stymied election. But if not, then Rivlin can then give the challenger Benny Gantz a 4-week window to try it for himself. With only 54 members backing Gantz, he has an equally slim chance of success, which is why Rivlin has been urging the two men to form a unity government, meaning cooperate, but they don't want to. Gantz does not like Netanyahu at all. He wants him gone out. And the liberals want Netanyahu out. Possibilities. Here are the possibilities. Just for those interested. Lieberman folds. Lieberman is this guy, Bibi Netanyahu's former ally, Avigdor Lieberman. And he seems to be like a hardliner against the Arabs. And he's gotten sick of Netanyahu, apparently. Like he refuses to cooperate with Netanyahu. If he cooperated, then Netanyahu would have won. But he didn't. He is like a hard, tough-talking guy. He's interesting. I don't know if he's good, though. And B, here's the another possibility. Likud, which is Netanyahu's party, ousts Netanyahu. And that's what Blue and White, the liberals, want. They have so many parties, it's confusing. C, Bibi and Benny Gantz compromise. Doubtful. D, a wild card emerges. Who knows? And E, elections take 3. So who knows what's going to happen? By the way, Israeli general, according to Drudge, an Israeli general warns that the Iran situation is reaching the level of war. Uh-oh, some of you guys might be right, that they're pushing for war with Iran. Probably not a good idea. The Daily Star reports that an Israeli general warns it is approaching level of war with Iran as the tensions rage. And Iran is accused of bombing Saudi Arabia's oil, and so we're supposed to be backing up Saudi Arabia. It's all a mess. I don't understand it. But that's just a quick little update for you guys. Anyways, let me get to some callers. Miles out of Texas. How are you?
Doing good, Hake. How about yourself?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
Yep. I'm calling them about this impeachment craze that's been going on again.
Yeah. I think that they were just looking for any excuse, and now they have an excuse. Because it sounds mildly like, they speculate, he was gonna withhold funding to Ukraine to fight off the Russians, which he's the one who gave the money to the Ukraine to fight off the Russians earlier in the first place. Obama wouldn't do it. because supposedly, according to one liberal reporter that I heard, who I tend to think is trustworthy, there are so-called white supremacists and neo-Nazis in the Ukraine people who are fighting off Russia. So Obama didn't want to support them. But Trump is supporting Ukraine against Russia. And wouldn't that indicate that Trump is not under Putin's control? Which is a dumb conspiracy theory. But anyways, like he was like, wait a minute, we want to not support these people if they're corrupt. So he was talking with the president over there, the newly elected president of Ukraine back in July, Vladimir Zelensky or something like that. That hey, you're dealing with your corruption. Hey, keep up with us, coordinate with us on our investigation on Joe Biden, because the story goes that some Ukrainian company was paying Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, like a lot of money, a decent amount of money, to be on their board for some odd reason. Maybe they thought that Biden was going to win or something, or have some type of power. But so they wanted to investigate, and then Biden was supposedly pressuring a supposedly corrupt attorney general or something over there, a prosecutor over there, to be fired, pressuring Ukraine to fire this prosecutor who is, quote unquote, widely seen as corrupt, according to the liberal media. And so they call Trump's claims about Biden being corrupt unfounded, is the word that they're using. Unfounded claims it's unfounded claims that Trump is corrupt.
Years ago. Yeah.
The claims about Russia are unfounded, but they don't call them unfounded. They call them, let's investigate. So they're want to really just pour over any little thing. That's why Trump doesn't release his taxes, because they will pour over anything, and anything that looks like you can twist to looking like a questionable thing, they're going to do it, and they're going to try to trip them up. So the less you release, the better. And no wonder Trump tried to move stuff over, like he moved the information about this phone call that he had with Ukraine over to another server. What I get out of that is that he's trying to prevent leaks, because these people are so corrupt. They have access to this information, so he's moving it over so that they don't leak information. Because the more information that you leak, the more the press and the liberals are like, let me see what I can concoct. What type of fake scandal can I concoct with this information and make it look real?
Yep, trying to misconstrue his words and everything.
Yeah. So that's how I see it.
It's real interesting. Like, I talked to Jesse about this probably like 3 weeks ago, I think, when he was filling in for you. Have you happened to ever hear a man by the name of Kim Clement?
I recognize the name vaguely. It rings a bell, but I don't know. I don't have any connection. So no, I don't know.
Yeah, well, this man was one of those like TBN televangelists, like people. And like I'm always kind of weary of those people. They haven't had the best of track records.
Wary, not weary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
And basically, this man had been prophesying about a president that would come and shake things up, and then ended up naming Trump before he decided to run for president, I think around like 2007 up to like 2015. And it's like real interesting, like, because his prophecies like all seem to be lining up, where like he said they're going to be yelling impeach, and God will not let it happen. And that like Trump was chosen essentially to be like this exposer.
Yeah,
like the most highest up of corruption.
So
and
you're
exactly what we're seeing now.
So you're thinking that there was something to these so-called prophecies?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because if you go back and look at what he's said, like over the years, like he died, I think, shortly after Trump got elected.
All right. Appreciate the tip, Miles.
Yeah. And basically, like he said, this is going to be a 2-term president. And the radical left are going to basically do everything they can to try to stifle him. But everything that they're doing and trying to do will end up like being thrown back at them and fall flat on their faces, which we've seen from the Blasey Ford thing, all the accusations they lined up against them.
I'll tell you, I mean, that prediction sounds like it might be reasonable. I just can't bring myself to be interested in that type of stuff. Like, I just don't get into it. I mean, unless I came across it myself, you know. But even then,
most people haven't really heard of him.
But I'll tell you that it kind of makes sense because look at how President Trump acts. He's a fighter and he's a winner. So for that reason, I think you might be right. It may turn out like that. We'll see. Appreciate it, Miles.
I'd like to leave off with just one Bible verse that basically like shows like how God works, which is Amos 3:7.
Okay.
And it says, surely the Lord God does nothing unless he reveals his secret counsel to his servants, the prophets.
All right.
And I believe, like, if Trump does get reelected, like, this man will be fully vindicated on what he said, and there's nothing but great restoration that he prophesied under this president. And I already think that most of us who are working have seen like this restoration and the amount of money that people are making, able to have savings, and everyone, they truly believe that God sent Trump. Pray for him.
Thank you, Miles. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. I got to go. Take care, man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Let me get to some more callers, and then I'll get back to this thing. Kyle, out of Denver, Colorado. Kyle, how are you?
Great. How you doing, Hake?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
Good hearing from you. Yeah, I just was going to call about, the guy that was on before about the union.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about unions is it creates a false economy. And like Venezuela right now, they kind of had, socialist is pretty much the same thing as unions. And they, right now, they can't even afford to buy their own goods. They have to import, so they can't even fix their economy. And that's, the same thing would happen here. If we had nothing but union wages, you'd never be able to afford anything. We'd have to import
Yeah, the more people can afford, the more stuff is going to cost. Duh. They don't really consider that. That's why this income inequality thing and this minimum wage that they're pushing, they should get rid of minimum wage. And yes, many people's pay will go down, but costs will also go down. And we can deal with whatever challenges that come up. And it's so It's so corrupting to give away free stuff. And I consider minimum wage part of the free stuff that they're giving away. It's evil. It's communist.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad. I mean, there's good people that have union jobs, and I'm not saying that that they're doing wrong. I mean, if the companies are willing to pay that much,
right,
they should go do the job. But that's just a symbol of why socialism and unions are a bad thing. I thought I'd weigh in on that.
Like what Jesse always says, once you give away free stuff, it's hard to take it back. Like this Obamacare thing.
Oh yeah.
It's probably never going away. It's only going to get worse. They'll go to single payer, which is total communism, and it'll be evil. It's so wrong. I appreciate that, Kyle. Very good point. Yeah, I like a lot of the union guys. Some of them defend their unions too much. I don't think they realize what's going on and what type of corruption they're supporting. A lot of times these unions support Democrats, most of the time. Well, sometimes they support Trump. That part is good.
We would never, people won't see that until you're in the middle of it. Right now they're only looking at their own security. And I don't blame people, you want to take care of yourself first.
Right. Yeah, man.
Anyways, I won't take up too much of your time.
Appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you. Nice to hear from you.
Good to hear from you.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care. Michael, out of Florida, first-time caller. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Hake?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
Thanks, man. I was just calling because I listen to Jesse Lee. I've been listening since probably last November, and I started listening to your show when you started last year, too. Or you kind of got into it this year, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're more political than, like what you talk about. You talk about the news, and it's really good because, like, if I want to know the news, I listen to the Hake Report.
Thanks, man.
So, yeah, I appreciate what you guys are doing, man. And it's just so awesome to, hear you guys, speaking the truth about, what's real and what's not, what it means to be a man, all those things. Like, I just love it. But the question I have for you is, I know, I don't know what you believe. Maybe I just ask you, do you believe Jesus is God, or do you believe he's just man?
I believe that he's the Son of God. I don't believe that he's God.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so, the argument is, it's another one of those arguments that I don't really care that much about, although Jesse does make a good point that you should believe what's true. So it is important to not believe lies and believe the truth. And what the Bible is clear about is that he's the Son of God. It's kind of unclear about him being God. It's kind of like there's poetic statements such as I am and the Word was God and blah, 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 all those things. And where that other guy says, my Lord and my God, when, doubting Thomas put his finger. All those things don't necessarily indicate to me that he is. And then there's another line, another verse from one of the letters from the apostles where it says, Jesus, God be forever praised, something like that. And then some of it says, Jesus, who is God, forever praised. And so that's like a translation, because depending on the translation, it says two different things. So all those things are very vague to me. So I don't really concern myself with the whole question, except when it comes up, because a lot of people will fight you that, oh, he is God. And then I'm like, no, that makes me kind of push back on that. Like, no, don't be pushing that on me, because they're trying to force you to believe something that doesn't even, and they're making assumptions about what's said, and then I also look at the lives of the people who say one thing versus the other. The one that says that Jesus is the Son of God, he's actually living it. And then the one that say that he is God, that Jesus is God, they're a bunch of like intellectuals, emotional intellectuals. There's no other kind of intellectual.
Not all, but most.
Yeah, that believe that pushing that. So, everything points to him being the Son of God. It's more important to know. It's more important to know God for yourself, and that you do that through Jesus, right?
That's true.
To like argue and bicker over this whole thing, because it's such a denial of reality, and it's such a slanderous statement for people to say. Anybody who says that Jesus is the Son of God and not God, they claim that that's denying Jesus, or that's denying Christ. That's such a lie. And so these people are, in my opinion, those people that are pushing that they don't know what they think they know. And they're not I don't think that they actually even know God. I think that they're liars, they're deceivers, or they're deceived, kind of like useful idiots.
The thing is, I honestly believe that, both sides are true. Jesus is the Son of God, and he is God as well.
Okay.
And the Bible says, in the beginning, God said, come, let us make man in our image. So it's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
But God never calls himself God the Son or God the Holy Spirit. And yes, but that just means that Jesus is the firstborn over all creation. Without him, nothing was made.
Right, and it also like.
So I wouldn't jump to those assumptions, man.
That's not an assumption. Okay. But
it is an assumption for you to say that he's God the Son, because the Bible never refers to him as God the Son.
The Bible, it does.
Not clearly. Not clearly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it may say it in like poetic terms, and you are gods and stuff like that, but it's never explicitly and clearly stated. Everything that is clear is he's the Son of God.
Do you know that
it's quite clear.
In John, it says that he considered the Pharisees were upset because he called himself equal with God?
Yeah, because...
And also in Philippians, it says that even though he was
but none of those
God,
things... Diet God.
right? No?
No. I'm just saying that none of those things mean what you're assuming that it means. Anyway, man,
okay.
I gotta go.
I know you gotta go. Quick question. What
All right.
does the name Emmanuel mean?
That means God with us.
All right.
Yep.
I'll call back. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Take care. Oh, man, I wanted to get to my stuff, but I got some calls to go through. Let me quickly say that, I read about the top of the hour news. Percentage of foreign-born residents is the highest in the country. Let me just show you some brief graph things. Let's just run through those graph things. So basically, the U.S. population, citizen, born in the United States, citizen, born in Puerto Rico or U.S. islands. This is a chart. Citizen, born abroad of American parents. Citizen by naturalization or not a U.S. citizen. Interesting. And so the numbers have been increasing, and of non-citizen people. And these are not just any non-citizens, because back in the early 1900s and 1800s, you will see that the percentage was kind of high and stuff like that, and the numbers were high. These are just raw numbers, because the population was pretty small early on, and then it grew. This is the America's foreign-born population is at a record 44.7 million people, and that's 2018. And it's been growing since basically 1970. They've been pushing it since the Immigration Act of 1965, put forward by Ted Kennedy, I think, or something like that. One of those Kennedy idiots. And go to the next one. This one is crazy. Look, the foreign-born population in the 1800s was quite high, but that's when we had a morality thing. We wanted white men of white Christian men of good character, basically. I think that's what I heard from the alt-right, and I think that they are correct in this. They tend to give factual information, and so I think that that's true. And then in 1965, we did put a moratorium in the early 1900s, 20s, 30s, 40s, or something like that. We had a moratorium on immigration. And then, so like 1970 was the peak of most people not foreign-born. And then it's been growing and growing and growing. Now it's like above 13, 14% of the population foreign-born, I think. And yeah, is that the last of them? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's an attack on whites. And it's an attack on Christians. It's an attack on America, really, because these people don't have, white kids are already a minority, and they're under attack. Child abuse, teaching whites that their forefathers were racist, and that they are racist and they can't help it, and all that nonsense. So white babies, stop taking the birth control. Get married early. Don't be seeking after a career. Don't be waiting until you can afford it, whatever. Because that challenge, you'll rise to the challenge. It's like a sink or swim type of thing, I think. That's me. But, let me get to some calls. Let's get to Christopher out of California. Christopher, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Hake?
Going fine. You're a little muffled, but make your point real fast.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. I just wanted to ask you the influence that Jewish organizations, such as the ADL, and also just the Israelis.
You cut out.
Primarily. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out briefly, but you said the influence of Jewish organizations like the ADL, which is a horrible organization. It's kind of, to be honest, they're anti-Jewish. Yeah. They're anti-Jewish, but they're mainly anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-America.
The ADL is not anti-Jewish.
They are anti-Jewish, and I'll tell you why. They pretend to be for the Jews. It's just like the NAACP is anti-black. They pretend to be for the blacks, but they're evil, and an evil organization cannot be pro-anybody. You know, the GLAAD, the gay group, GLAAD, and GLSEN, all those gay groups, those are not pro-gay people. Those are anti-gay people. You notice that? So they're evil. You notice that? You know what you get my point?
I'm not familiar with GLAAD, but
GLAAD is basically a pro-gay group. Yeah, so now you get it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right,
anyways,
well,
but you said Israeli groups are pushing for American immigration too? Okay. Interesting. You are really coming in and out, man.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe I'll just let you go then.
All right, appreciate it though, man. Yeah, most Jewish people are liberals. Unfortunately, they're kind of like 70%, I think, voted for Hillary. That's ridiculous. Well, and they're supposedly,
tend to be liberal.
Educated people are liberals. A lot of them are educated, and they also have that they identify with their Jewishness rather than with what's right many times. And then many of them are seculars. They're not even religious. But even the religious ones should be Christians. But anyways, that's the natural flow from Judaism to Christianity. Anyways, man.
I wanted to just come at, because I'm the white nationalist guy that calls in a lot.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, come at it from a different approach, because I know there's a lot of white nationalists, especially in the comments, that are always hating on Jews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my approach is I actually admire the Jews. I want white people to be more like them.
But for what's right though. But for what's right.
Well, what's right for me is just ending immigration and ensuring that the white race, survives. I don't want to conquer anybody. I don't hate anybody.
Right, but it's not just what's right for you. That's what's right, period. This diversity thing is what's right, period. It's not just what's right for you or what's right for white people. Because it's not about this whole thing about, blacks need to be represented because they're such and such percent of the population and they're underrepresented in leadership. That's not reality. Reality is we want the leaders that are for what's right, the moral ones. And most of the blacks are not. And then the Jewish ones, most of them are a bunch of liberals. So you make an interesting point, man.
They're overrepresented in Congress and in the Senate. They're overrepresented in Congress by, I think, four times and 8 times in the Senate.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that there was I think it was 1776, that Immigration Act.
Was that
free
white Christians of good character, something like that?
That was correct.
Okay.
Free white men of good character, because white people were.
Did it use the term white?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, yeah, my pleasure, brother.
Take care,
I'll talk to you again.
All right, you as well. Blazing Hogs out of Dayton, Ohio. Blazing Hogs, how are you? You're coming in really. You sound like you're in a Niagara Falls.
Hola.
Hey, hola.
Hey, the hypocrisy I'm talking about, the Greta Thunberg, they're all like, oh, she's just a kid.
Yeah.
What about the kid with the MAGA hat on when the Indian came up?
Exactly.
Down at D.C.
Yeah, he was no older, right? He was 16, maybe 17, maybe 18.
Said he had a punchable face. They all were doxing.
That is so true.
All that crap.
Yeah.
They forget about.
And that kid
a month later.
That kid did nothing wrong. All he did was just kind of smile, and he's like, "I'm just gonna stand here because this guy's like walking up, getting in my face." Man.
Yeah, he wasn't putting himself out there like this Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, and you know what else? If they're so concerned that she's just a kid, they shouldn't have put her up in the first place on that platform. She doesn't belong there. She's mentally, spiritually, emotionally disturbed. And everybody saw it. Some people don't admit it. The decent people do admit it. Thanks, Blazing Hogs.
All emotions that they want to pull on everybody out there.
Yeah.
Hey, Maze, it's Blazing Hogs.
Yeah.
All in one day.
Nice.
Hog. Slow down, Maze. When you talk slower, you sound cuter, okay? Thank you.
Right on, Blazing Hogs. Take care, man. All right. Bye. Kenny out of Idaho and the rest of you guys, I can't get to you, but call me on Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We have the Fallen State right in a couple of hours, noon Pacific, which is 1 Mountain Daylight Time, 2 Central, 3 Eastern. Go to thefallenstate.tv. Subscribe, ring the bell for the Fallen State YouTube channel. I'm sure most of you have. And then church on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Doors open 10:30 in LA. You can watch at rebuildingtheman.com/church. Get the information there. And then subscribe and ring the bell for Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube channel. It's an excellent channel. You guys know. All right. Take care.